Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back, and it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagined.com/last dash the number 10 X dash longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20 to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast. I'm Dr. Willow Brown. I am here with the one and only Leah Piper. We are Sex Reimagined, and we're so excited today because we're going to introduce you to an incredible woman, Elana Auerbach, and she has been on quite a journey. So how does a woman go from just living a perfect life on paper to discovering the kind of pleasure and intimacy that actually turns her on and makes her feel super alive? She has journeyed from Wall Street to priesthood, reclaiming desire, truth, and fulfillment. So we're so excited that she's with us today.
If you've been with us for a long time, you know what's about to come up. But if you are new, we want you all right now to tune in, be very focused, be very present, turn on, and fall in love with Elana.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
We're so excited you're here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about your journey. Sounds like it's been quite a from way over here to way over here.
Right. Well, it's a journey that ends up many women that I've met over the past couple of decades. It's very familiar. Mm-hmm. It's being the good girl. I call that this part of my life, being on the conveyor belt of life, doing what I was supposed to do, doing what would get me approval from authority figures in my life, whether it was my parents or my teachers or society in general, right? And so I was just kind of chugging along. I went to UCLA. I studied math. I graduated Phi Beta Kappa. I got a job on Wall Street. I'm totally miserable. I loved living in Manhattan, but I'm just miserable, soul-sucking job for me. Not, maybe not for everybody. And then I realized, oh, this is my dad's dream to make a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, I meet this guy who there's no chemistry, but he looks great on paper. My parents love him. So he proposes, pit of a volcano erupts in my belly, and I ignore it. And I start crying. He's like, well, does that mean yes? And I was like, I guess so. Right? I just had no capacity for the courage to hurt him and hurt his feelings and not do what he wanted, even though lovely person, but just no chemistry, So ended up, disassociating, disconnecting more, got married, and was married for just a few years. And after doing a medicine journey with a Hakomi body-based somatic therapist I was working with in San Francisco at the time, over almost 25 years ago now, at the end of the journey, it was like this rebirthing. And she was like, well, where does this guy fit in? And I was like, he doesn't. I've been trying to squish him in like for 4 years while we were married. I just put us through the ringer to try and find him in my heart. The problem was he was already in my heart. He just wasn't in my pussy. Yeah. There was no, it's just like, okay. So after that journey, I went and told him. At the time, it was the most courageous thing I'd ever done in my life, in my early 30s, to say, I want a separation. and he was breaking down, and I knew I could make it all better. And there was this part of me that was like, oh, just go sit next to him on the couch and just take it all back. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. And like squishing, it was like, no, I am clear with what I want and what's right for me. And it turns out what's right for both of us. He ended up finding someone, has a beautiful life, has a beautiful family now, and so forth. And that then opened me up to really start exploring pleasure and orgasm. And I had a friend in San Francisco who was part of what I call the pleasure people at the time. They were exploring pleasure together, mostly had a practice called a deliberate orgasm. So I did this course.
What's a deliberate orgasm?
Right? Let's talk about deliberate orgasm. Well, this is something that I learned in the pleasure course. And it is something that, comes from like kind of this guy named Vic Barranco. So he started, so it's basically one person is at effect.
Is that Morehouse?
Morehouse. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, so this is starting. I'm starting to follow where this is all
You're starting to like connect the dots. Yeah. So yes. So it's basically one person is receiving and the other person is stroking the other person's genitals.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful practice to add to any sexual repertoire. And that's where I met who would become my lover man for life in the advanced pleasure course. And we became research partners. We had an open relationship. This was new for both of us to be in an open relationship. And we were our research was exploring pleasure and orgasm, and mostly my orgasm. And you probably know, then we actually had a brief moment in One Taste.
Yeah.
Before it was even called One Taste. That was something my spouse was the one, unfortunately, much to his chagrin, who named that place. But back 20 years ago, one of our claims to fame. What's that?
It was a great name. One Taste is a great name.
Fabulous name. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Yes. I mean, not many couples go into a sex cult and come out of a sex cult still together, right? So
yes.
We did that. True. That was remarkable.
How did that bring you guys closer together going through that?
Well, leaving. I mean, we were really, our relationship was together like a spider web. But the spider web, those are really strong and they're supple and they stretch. And it brought us together because we endured that. I mean, that's a whole nother story that I'm happy to talk about. And it was because the person who was leading that cult was trying to push us apart so that he would leave and I would stay. Mm-hmm. And so really seeing, like, waking up from the spell that I was under. And seeing what was real, and then going, holy shit, what have I done? I mean, really just unmooring that same practice of going along with someone else and not listening to my own inner wisdom and following along with someone else. Yeah.
I want to give a little bit of context for our listeners who may be like, what are they talking about? You can learn more about the controversy having to do with One Taste and Nicole Daedone on a documentary called Orgasm, Inc. For those of you who haven't heard about what we're talking about. And Morehouse originated this type of pussy stroking in particular that Nicole then took and repackaged it as orgasmic meditation. And one of the beautiful parts that has, I think, a lot of efficacy still today, regardless of the controversy that surrounds Nicole, is this stroking process is a way to meditate on your pleasure, where your focus for most of it. Now, people have all sorts of different iterations, but typically people know it as a way for the stroke-e to be able to come and track their own system, to wake up their clitoris, to experience all the body knowledge that the body wants to communicate. So that could be a cathartic release. It could be bigger turn on than you've ever experienced before. It could be edging where you're getting close to climax. It could be going over the waterfall. Whatever a woman is capable of, my friends, she will likely experience it through a dedicated practice where she gets to meditate on her vulva and on her clitoris and all those good things. So that's a little bit of context. Is there anything briefly you want to add to that I might have missed?
Let's take a quick break.
Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back, and it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagine.com/last the number 10 x longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20, to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
The link is in the show notes. We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there.
I just think it's a wonderful practice to continue to expand your capacity to dissolve into pleasure and to dissolve into orgasm. And wherever that takes you, if it's edging, if it's coming back, if it's like opening, and then opening the waterfall in another gush and another gush, it's all possible. And it's a beautiful practice, and it's a wonderful practice. And it was a brilliant renaming for all the spiritual seekers. It's not a spiritual practice.
Right.
However, it sounds like one because of how Nicole renamed it. Yeah. It's a body-based pleasure practice. That's a wonderful thing that you can do yourself. You can also do with a partner.
Now, if I can just add this one question before we move on to any other place, if you don't mind, Willow, and that is, what was your orgasms like before you started on this journey? Were they easy? Were they difficult? Somewhere in between?
Yeah, easy and fast.
Okay.
Right? Easy, quick. Now it's like, and then the going over the edge, and then lots of sensitivity.
Okay. Like that sharp, and then it's like
that right, exactly. Okay, enough. Leave, off the clit. And so that's really changed dramatically. Yeah.
And
it continues.
If somebody is brand new to this conversation, doesn't know what one taste is or orgasmic meditation, this pussy stroking focused practice, where can they learn about it these days?
Well, I do talk about, I call it deliberate orgasm in my book. Okay. The Sure Thing, a pleasure practice to revive the spark. There's also, I learned it from Erwan Davon, and Erwan and Alicia still teach it in the San Francisco area. They probably have some online. Yeah. And those are the places that I would recommend.
Yeah. So the Davon method.
The Davon method, which is also like a based on the deliberate orgasm.
Yeah. Right. And we will link their episode. We've had them on the show. Well, we've had Alicia on the show. So you can find that in the show notes on the website. And then Morehouse is still active teaching classes, is it not?
I don't know. I was never involved. Are they?
I went to a class with them probably 6 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
So look up Morehouse, y'all, if you're curious. But more importantly, look up you, Elana. So
let's talk about your book. Tell us about who is this book ideal for, and what is the transformation that they're going to get through it?
Yeah. So this book is ideal for anyone who is wanting to connect with more sensual sexual pleasure, really, whether you're in a relationship or you're not. So you can do this. It can be a solo practice. It can be a partner practice. And this came out of my relationship with my spouse, who I met 25 years ago at Erwan, in Erwan's living room, actually his kitchen. Anyway, and we had a child. We got married in 2008. We had a kid. And then, our cosmic coitus really went to the back seat, way back in the bus, responsibilities, the kid, the job, all of these things. And so for 12 years, we struggled because, like all couples, desire discrepancy, arousal discrepancy. I'm into it. He's not. He's into it. I'm not. All this built up gunk, resentment, abandonment feelings, all these withholds. It was yucky. And I came up with this idea of having a weekly pleasure practice. But it took me almost 2 years to invite him into it because I had so much built up, resentment, and was like, oh, but still I'm like harming myself, right? Because I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. He's not getting it. So finally I committed to a friend to say, okay, by the winter solstice 2020, this was December 2020, the longest night of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, I said, I'm going to invite him in but before then. So I had like a witness, I had accountability, and I invited him in. Our kid had a drum lesson, and I said, come on, baby, let's like get it on. Okay. Cause I had this all planned. We were going to make love. And then in that afterglow, I was going to ask him, and I said, how would you like to deepen in intimacy, pleasure, and connection every week while our kid is at his drum lesson? He said, sure, baby, that sounds great. And so we started, and I had no idea that just having a rhythm and a commitment. I mean, what we then did right there was have a commitment to practice intimacy together. And then, so the next week we did it, and the next week, and it was just putting away devices, putting away whatever else we were doing, and turning towards each other and exploring. And what a foundational question that we began to ask was, what would be most pleasurable right now? And one of us would ask the other one. And so then we had this practice, and a few months into it, my life looked so different. Our relationship, this like edge in my voice of being really pissed off, and like the tone that I used to use was like, you effing idiot.
Right.
Was just disappeared because I now felt fulfilled. I felt so connected with myself and with him. And it was like a deeper, more intimate, and we had a really, really hot beginning of our relationship, as research partners. And this was beyond. And so,
Okay.
yeah. And so a few months into it, after our sure thing, which often we would high five and be like, this is so amazing. It's so simple, so profound, really incredible. I said, babes, I think I'm going to have to write a book because I don't want to keep this to myself. I want to share this with others. I know others are struggling with this too. And so that's came the inspiration to write the book. And really, the book is an interactive playbook. There are guided journeys. There are lots of different exercises. It's all about creating a personalized practice that's reliable for you to fulfill your own sensual desires.
I think that's one of the things that is so missing inside of whether you're solo or partnered. It's like having consistency, having something regular, always on the calendar. I'm always doing these practices by the moon cycle because the new moon and the full moon are going to come every single month, so I've got all of my women on that track and that thread. But I love that you're highlighting a weekly practice for a couple, because especially a couple who's been together for a long time, and things can get all kinds of things can build up over long periods of time, especially when you enter other human souls into the equation, like children. So, it's I'm sure that you saw results almost immediately, but then those results started to deepen and expand, which is why you could write an entire book on a weekly session. It's like, it seems so simple, but it becomes so vast and so profound.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm curious, what advice do you have for, because I see so many women, I've even had this experience myself where it's, okay, I'm supposed to show up for this. But there's a lack of enthusiasm. In fact, there's a ton of resistance. There's maybe even a bad attitude, some frustration. How can someone who wants to show up more powerfully, but is also weighing that they've got all these distractions, they've got a list going on in their head that they're thinking about, gosh, I could be spending this time doing this or knocking this off, having a hard time getting in their body, feeling themselves feel critical towards their partner just so they don't have to show up. Do you have any advice for the person who's struggling? And it doesn't have to be a woman, it could be a man too.
That's right. That's right. I have lots of advice for that,
that
person, because I continue to be that person. And then I always ask myself, what do I want? Like when it's our time, right? I mean, the thing about having the reliable, it's a commitment. It's the time now. So, and I don't want to get off the couch because I want to watch that next episode of this show that I'm really loving. And then I think about, for a moment, I just pause. And that's what a lot of the book is mindful practice, is mindfulness and getting to know ourselves and getting to know, that couch potato archetype, right? We all have one. And so the couch potato was like, oh, I just want to watch and just totally zone out. And then the other part is like, okay, well, if I go do a sure thing with Bill right now, then I'm going to feel more in my body, more connected with him, more fulfilled. And I will tell you that practicing for almost 5.5 years now, there has not been once that we've finished a sure thing, either with my spouse or with myself, that I've been like, oh, that's a waste of time. That was
right.
Just a waste.
Oh, geez, wish we had to spend time on that.
I wish we didn't do that. It's like, do you ever go to a yoga class? You never go to yoga and be like, or sit on and do meditation. If you're meditation, it's a practice. So that's the thing. It's like, okay, I don't really want to. And that's where effort comes in. First you have to have a commitment. So you have to have a commitment that inspires you. Your intention for a sure thing is what I call the practice. It has to inspire you. For our intention is to deepen in intimacy, pleasure, and connection. I want that. I want that with me. I want that with my man. And that still inspires me. Once it stops inspiring me, I'll come up with another intention. So you've got to start with something that gets you going, that turns you on, right? And then you bring the commitment. It's like, okay, I'm going to do it. Just like you have a commitment to working out, a commitment to your therapist, a commitment to taking care of your kids, a commitment to whatever, to studying. You have a commitment. You just get off the couch and go into the bedroom. And sometimes, here's the thing. There's a whole part of the book that talks about how to prepare myself, how to prepare yourself, and to find what softens you, what gets you more in your body, so that as the time is coming towards your sure thing, maybe you want to take a bath, maybe you want to go walk in nature, maybe you want to do some meditation, whatever it is that helps you to feel more in your body and more open and receptive, right? So you can prepare yourself. And even if you don't have time for that and you're cranky, and you're like, I don't want to do it, but I said I was going to do it, and I'm going to do it. And I know it's good for me. Okay. Even if you just have to be like, it's good for me. Fine. Screw it. Let's go to the bedroom. Okay, fine. Find something that, like, there might be the scent of rose. For me, music. So as soon as we turn on the Sure Thing playlist and I start to hear a couple of those really funky tunes, I'll start to sway and I'll start to feel something, usually.
Yeah.
If not, we can just lie on the bed and hold hands and just lie there and notice, because this is when it was a real game changer for me, when I learned about responsive arousal and desire and not spontaneous. Not just because we all, including myself, are conditioned that it's, this kind of thing is supposed to happen spontaneously. I'm not supposed to schedule it. I am not supposed to.
I just want it. Yeah.
I just want it, and it's supposed to flare up, and then, we're going to have great sex, and it's going to be lusty and passionate and everything. It's like, well, after 10 years, after 20 years, after 3 years, after maybe 6 months, it may not be there anymore. But then there's responsive desire and arousal, which arises out of context and out of feeling comfortable with somebody. And so we might just lie on the bed and hold hands. And then I'll be like, babes, can you just tickle my back? And then I'll be like, can you kiss my neck? And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, can you lick my pussy? I mean, so things just unfold, but it's not about pressure or performance. It's about a commitment with some effort that will have to be coupled with some effort and some devotion to what it is you want in your life. what it is you want to experience with our one precious life here. What do you want to experience in your body? What do you want to create in your couple? And so we have to be devoted to that, to what it is we want, so that we then can get out of our comfort zone and get off the couch and kind of say no to the couch potato. It's like, I'll watch that. Don't worry. I'll indulge the couch potato, but just not right now.
You can binge later.
That's right.
How has this shifted Bill's relationship to his own sexuality, virility, and body?
What a great question. Well, I think he feels definitely more connected with his sex. And he feels, I'll tell you a story. About maybe a year or two into our practice, he started telling me things. And meanwhile, we've been together for 20 years at this point. And he's starting to share things with me that he has never shared before. And I said, honey, I love that you're sharing this. It feels so good. I feel so included. And I recognize that he's private, and that was okay. And it was so delicious to be part of his inner world like that. And I said, well, what has changed? And he thought about it for a minute, and he said, I think it's our sure thing. I just feel so close to you. And so, yes, the sex and the, and it's wonderful. And the intimacy and the love and the tenderness is what is just really
Valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wonderful.
I love that you guys were like, okay, drum lesson. That's gonna work. We're starting there. That's where you kicked it off. But I know there's many women out there with multiple children, and they don't all go to the drum lesson together. That's one part. So what's your advice for women with really like a lot of kids, and then or just no time, and then also. I know that for many women, like having a time limit already kind of puts them in a resistant place in their body. Like it's hard to open up. If I know it's going to end at 2:00, it's like, then I don't think I can open quickly enough for them.
That's interesting though. I think for a lot of women, it's like, oh good, that's when I know it'll be over. So some may go, oh, there won't be enough time for me. Another one will be like, oh good, that way I know I got an out.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing about the sure thing is that it's completely customizable. So you could do 10 minutes, you could do all night, right?
Right.
So if you just have the hour, then there's no goal. The goal is to fulfill whatever your intention is that you set with yourself, with your partner. For those people who have multiple children, however many kids, and so many responsibilities, what I recommend is that one of the things that works for some is that you have a friend who also has lots of kids, that you enroll in having their own sure thing with their spouse.
Yeah.
And so then you swap childcare duties. And then you also, it also is inspiring because you can share.
You can talk about it.
You can talk about it. And this is what we're planning on doing. And this is what we did. And this is what he did. And oh my God. So that's really fun. You can also, I've known some couples that they tell their kids that this is time that, the parents
Mom and dad are doing their homework.
They're doing their thing. They're doing their,
seriously.
They're grown up, their adult hug.
Yes.
And so,
when the hat's out the door, don't interrupt us.
Exactly. So that kind of thing. And only if it's absolute emergency, but the door's locked. Okay. Yeah. And that's when you can use, there are certain circumstances, I believe, that the electronic babysitter can be used in a good way.
Absolutely.
And so put them in front of their favorite show, take an hour, take your time.
In the video game, go have
or the video game, whatever it is. But so be intentional about it and prioritize your pleasure, because what I found is I am such a better parent now, without all that pent up resentment and feeling more fulfilled and more in my body and more like waves of orgasm and ecstasy moving through.
Yeah.
Guess what? My kids are better off for this practice.
Did you guys ever watch that movie? It was the movie about how the vibrator came about way back in the day. It was created by these two doctors, and basically all these women way back in the day were coming in with all this pent up, like, wow, what's wrong with me? And so the main doctor would basically get them off, and then he taught his young apprentice how to do it too. And so they're walking out like, oh, everything's so much better after they have their orgasm. And that's how they invented the first vibrators, because the two doctors were like, we can't handle all these women.
Well, and look, they were treating hysteria. Women were being diagnosed with hysteria. Their husbands didn't know what to do with them. And so they started giving them G-spot massage. Their hands were getting too tired. They had too many patients, and they invented the vibrator. That kind of sums up. There's a great article in the New York Times.
It's a great film.
And then they turned it into a movie.
It's funny.
But one of the things I want to highlight that you've said that I think is important for people to kind of bookmark in their mind as sort of a neurological way to work with your mind. And that is to go really notice and talk about how much better you feel when you show up and you do your practice. Yeah. Because it affirms out loud to your partner, to you, and to your brain, this is worth us being committed to. It drops cortisol levels. So if you have a bunch of kids or one kid or no kids and you got a stressful job and your cortisol levels are high, coming together with your partner and practicing intimacy is going to give you oxytocin dumps. That's going to drop your stress hormones. It's going to soften you. Just like you said, you're going to be better in every sector of your life when you have a chance to drop into your body. So really highlight how you feel before you showed up to your practice and what changed as a result of your practice. And then zoom out and realize that this has an accumulative effect, like you were just talking about between you and your husband. If you want to have a relationship that survives, that thrives, that stays connected, it is so easy for us to love someone, but then our paths start to float away, like our closeness shifts, the things we have in common shift. It's like we start to lose interest in each other. And by having these intimacy practice, it really solidifies your future, that you're likely going to stay happy together and that relationship is going to have longevity. You won't drift apart. So I think it really has two things going for it. It's got long-term goals, which are probably the hardest thing for us to give into because we like instant gratification. But we can still have instant gratification if we can just, especially as women, give ourselves that 20 to 30 minutes of allowing our body to get turned on, to try not to be in a rush, to find out how to feel that sensuality in your skin. And I think we've rushed sex so much in long-term relationships where we just want to feel successful. So like the big goal is get it up, get it in, and get it off. And then whether I got off or not, at least I know I took care of my partner and we can go on with the rest of our day. So I think there's so many things that are operating in our conditioning that this might make a big shift in.
Absolutely. And I think 100% what you were saying, Leah, is what we've discovered is, which you all both know, is that the realm of intimacy and pleasure is infinite. And so if you bring some curiosity, not only are you getting closer to each other, but you're exploring this realm and discovering new things and surprises. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I didn't know this was possible. I didn't know, let's try this. Or this whole creative channel is that same place of the sexual center. So as we start to open that and turn towards that and have a regular practice, all kinds of things are going to inspire you to create things, to question things, to be curious about. And so what I discovered, and I call her my wild sensual self, this part of myself who, sure, I recognized her from brief sexual encounters when I was younger, but really having her have a weekly canvas to show up. I call her Vivacious Viv, my wild sensual self. And I attest that each of us has a wild sensual self inside that maybe we know a little bit, maybe we know her a lot, maybe we haven't connected with her in a long time. but she's still in there. And so what I found was every week she had this playground now, and she loves embodied activities. And so in starting the Sure Thing, I learned how to ski after. I love Aikido. I love Aikido. I've never done a sport. I've never done any kind of martial arts.
That's
It is
cool.
so wonderful.
I
Can't get it.
that.
And hopefully I'm on track to be black belt by the time I'm 60.
Yeah.
And I started in my 50s. Okay.
That's amazing.
During
So
perimenopause.
inspiring.
So,
Yeah.
so there's all kinds of things that will likely surprise you if we are willing to just have the devotion and the commitment of a practice.
I like that.
I love that word, devotion. Yeah. Because I feel like so often we feel like, oh, just one more thing to do. I have to commit to, I have to be diligent about, I have to dive into. But like devotion is such a better way of looking at it. I love that.
Treating something as like it's precious to you.
That's
And so you're going to tend to it. You're going to caretake it. You're going to treat it like it's important and valuable. I'm curious, though. I mean, all that stuff's really lovely and awesome, and I love the potential that's there. But I imagine there are also ruptures that can happen when you show up for practice. Are there any big fights that you recall? Because sometimes fights can bring us closer if we do them well. You know, if you're good at fighting, it can often bring you closer. That's a skill too of how you argue. You don't argue to hurt or prove. You argue to get clear, you know? So I'm just curious if there was ever any obstacles that you or people that you know who've dedicated themselves to this have encountered that people could maybe watch out for.
Yeah. Well, a big obstacle that happened early on was that Bill was sick, he was traveling, and there were weeks that went by that we weren't practicing. And so that tone, that tension, that stress, that constriction in my body was building up. And then I realized, wait a second, why am I not having a solo Sure? And that's when the solo Sure was born. So
Cool.
That's the thing. Don't wait for anyone like me. I was waiting, right? I waited a long time. There's no one to wait for. There's no prince or princess charming. You can start with yourself. If your partner's not ready for whatever reason, is not interested, start with yourself. And this is something that you want to explore. Do it.
Explore.
One of the things I talk about in the book is being 100% responsible for our pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really fun, empowering game to play, I've found.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I take 100% responsibility, then it's like the cards are all in my hand. And I get to say, and I get to ask, and I get to make sure that I'm fulfilled in the way that I want to be fulfilled. And that doesn't mean that I don't ask and make requests and my partner doesn't do lots of things for me. Absolutely. However, the buck stops with me and my pleasure. Just like with him, it stops with him. So this then brings me to when partners have both partners want to, they're like, yes, let's do a Sure Thing. However, they have different intentions. One of them wants to have an orgasm every time, and the other one wants to have closeness. And then they come to me and they're like, okay, well, we're stuck. I'm like, well, how come you're stuck? Well, because we don't have the same intention. You can have different intentions. That's great. You just are 100% responsible for yourself. And so you're 100% responsible for ensuring that in your weekly pleasure practice, you fulfill your intention. Well, wait a second. What happens if I feel fulfilled with closeness, but she hasn't had an orgasm yet? Well, you've got options. You can say, here's the lube, love. And I'll lie here. But I feel complete. I'm done. I'm fulfilled. You can, offer if you feel like you want to offer, or you can say, you know what, I want to get in the bath right now, babe, but I want to encourage you to fulfill your own intention and encourage your partner to be 100% responsible in a really loving and empowering way. I mean, not be like, fuck you,
right.
Get yourself off, biatch. No,
Right.
Don't do that. Just be like, honey, I love you. I'm fulfilled. I want you to be fulfilled. Here's that lube that you love the best, whatever.
Here's your
Right,
favorite
here's the
vibrator,
vibrator.
a snack,
Right.
and some lube. I'll see
Totally,
you when
there
you're
you
done.
go. I'll
Come
rub
join
your
me
feet.
in the bath when you're
Maybe
complete.
right. Join me in the bath.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people do feel obligated, and
Right.
then that takes some joy out of their experience. I think the other thing that can happen is, I think especially for women, we've sort of normalized male get off and male self-pleasuring. But for a lot of women, we haven't been given permission to pursue
Yep.
our desire and to find out how we can come into bigger arousal, or to how to find out what our own arousal map is. And so I know for me, coming of age, it was like someone would say, so what do you like? You know, what's your fantasy? And I'm like, dude, I don't know, try something. I'll tell you if I like it. Like, that was the only answer I had, which is a really not a very good answer. I've since learned to go, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. And so I think there also has to be maybe a switch for various sensual bodies to go, you know, I don't know what I like. I don't really know how to self-pleasure. I've never been able to get myself off. So where do I begin? How do I start if they were going to do a solo sure thing?
Yeah. Well, you start with some time for yourself, you know, and if you have a partner, you just let them know you're going to be exploring. So please, you know, don't come in. And, you know, there's a lot of things in the book of ways to explore. I encourage people to get a mirror. If you've never taken a look at your pussy and the beauty and the shades and the shapes and how it changes over time and over, you know, as we become aroused, it's an incredible, incredible thing to witness. And begin with things that you enjoy, that you know you like. If you really love chocolate, get a piece of chocolate. If you know you like a tickle stroke, get a feather. Okay. And bring and then put on some music that really soothes you or arouses you, and explore and be like, okay, well, what if I take this feather and start tickling my face, and then, and let me see how it feels on my arm. And now while I'm doing that, if I put a little piece of chocolate on my tongue, and how does that, and just starting to notice and be like, oh, okay, well, what feels good? Well, maybe I'll start to massage my breasts. And what does it feel good if I really, you know, pinch my nipples? Try that. Maybe I want it softer. Maybe I want it harder, a little rougher, you know, and then begin to start to play with the different folds of your yoni. And, you know, maybe get out your lube. Discover what kind of lube you like. What do you like? Do you like a vibrator? There's so many different vibrators right out there to try if that's something you want to explore. Or you may want to just explore with your own hands. It's all there, or with vegetables. There's a lot of friends that I know that love to explore. They're like, they go to the vegetable aisle looking for a particular shape.
The perfect shape to zucchini. That carrot looks wonderful.
And so there's a and I riffed off of something that I learned from Erewhon that I think he called visiting dignitary, but I call it pleasure fit for a goddess, or god cute. Or a goddess.
I like
and
that
so
better.
I kind of riffed off of it. That you can do, I mean, you could spend hours on this, you could spend 15 minutes, but it goes through really in detail all the different, with lots of different ideas of how you can self-pleasure and how you can really honor that, you know, divine, if you want to call it, whatever that dignitary, that, you know, that sensual self within yourself, the inner lover. That's another part that I sometimes call it the inner lover. And so, and the more that you begin to open up, the more you'll have ideas of like, oh, well, maybe I'll try that. You know, I like to call it a love laboratory and pretend that we're scientists. And so we're like, how much pleasure can I feel by just touching my arm? I don't know. What if I touch my arm and like lift my pelvic floor? Oh, that feels interesting, right? And starting to connect different energy centers and sensations. So really using it as like an adult playground, if you will.
Yeah.
I think our bodies are, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think remembering to have some erotic innocence with it all, because I think sometimes as adults, we take ourselves so seriously. If we forget to be playful, and this is a real invitation, these kinds of discoveries, that it's not about getting it right. orgasm doesn't even have to be the goal. It's just being on a journey, allowing yourself to be creative, allowing yourself to be playful, exploring what erotic innocence might mean to you, and finding how healing that can be. I'm sure there's a lot of times in these practices where you feel so touched that you're encountering parts of yourself, and to have that be witnessed by a partner probably brings tears to a lot of experiences.
Yeah.
Leah and I just taught a women's weekend workshop called Rooted in Desire, and we had a lot of women, in their later years in life who did these. We gave them these practices, yoni witnessing and watching their vulva plump up, and self-pleasuring, and just discovering the map of their own bodies. And some of the reports that we got were like, I felt like I left those 2 days leaving like 60 years of shame behind, like so many layers and layers of shame and guilt and uncertainty and doubt, like keep us from discovering what our bodies are really built to do, what they're really wired for. And, just this whole conversation in your book, Elana, is just such an incredible gift to the world, because it's an opportunity to not only start getting in practice, but normalizing it, and just like starting to make this whole thing of, finding your own map to your own pleasure in your body so much more fun. And as women, we do get more serious as we age. There's actually studies on that. And so this is a way to take those layers of seriousness off and start to get back into the playfulness and back into the fun. And I love that you used that word canvas at one point, Elana, because it really is like, we are a lover's body, a partner's body. That's like your canvas that you get to paint love onto and play with. And your own body is a canvas too. So it's such an incredible gift that you're offering. How can people find your book and you?
Great. They can find the book is now available wherever you like to get books, in your local bookshop. They can order it for you. Bookshop.com supports independent books. It's of course on Amazon. The Sure Thing, a pleasure practice to revive the spark. And you can check me out at the surethingexperiment.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. And I just wanted to respond to what you were just saying, Dr. Willow, of, the seriousness, because we got to be serious in these times. And I believe that, when we release the shame, because I know that shame is used as a weapon to keep us small and to keep us silent and to squish squash and shame. And so we shine a light on shame. The more we can shine a light and bring it out from the shadows and right here in front to recognize, oh, no, there's nothing to be ashamed of. We've been conditioned to be ashamed of our bodies because that serves the powers that be, the powers of domination. Well, as we begin to really reclaim our pussy, our orgasm, our pleasure, then what comes forth is our creativity and our voice and our passion. And so then we have all this excess energy from the play, like you said, Dr. Willow, to bring to our very serious endeavors in the world, whatever they are. I'm really committed to creating a world based on kindness and love and compassion. And so there's a lot to do out there. And so this practice fuels me. So it will fuel and soften and engage and inspire whatever serious endeavors you have, in the world.
I love that.
It's really, I feel like it's so necessary for so many reasons, for especially women. I mean, for all people, but especially women, to start prioritizing pleasure, because that, first of all, will make it so much more fun, and will really open us up beyond what we are available, what we know now to be our genius and our resource, and how we are able to affect change in the world.
Well, and not only that, but it helps us live longer. It increases our immune system. It's good for our health.
Helps us sleep better, helps our heart, helps our skin, helps our
That's right.
eyes, everything.
Pleasure is affordable. It doesn't
Yeah.
cost you much.
It's
If
free.
anything, it's a renewable resource in your body, and it balances the stuff of life that's hard. We're all going to be dealing with hardship. So when you can tap into your pleasure, you give yourself reprieve, and you can help lift your weary soul, because damn does our soul get weary. So carry on the pleasure torch.
Let's go.
Now,
Let's
Elana, I know you have a free gift that you want to offer.
Oh, I
our
do.
audience.
I have a free gift. And I wanted to say that if you practice, like anything we practice, like if you have a meditation practice, then you're able to kind of notice what your mind's doing. If you have a pleasure practice, then during those hardship times that you were just talking about, Leah, you can also open this channel of pleasure simultaneously. So I really want to encourage people. There's so many benefits. There's so many benefits. Yes, and I want to gift you all with a guided journey into your wild sensual self. I mentioned that part of, I have a concept I call our inner pantheon. Just like in the Roman and Greek gods, we each have an inner pantheon, all the parts of ourselves, right? So in each of us is a wild sensual self. And so I've created, there's a bunch of guided journeys in the book, but I've recorded one of them. And that'll be available to your listeners, and to really connect and deepen with this part of you that really knows what they want, that has desire, and that has a real large appetite, for passion and sensation. And so,
And is this a PDF? Is it a video? Is it an audio?
it's an audio. It's an
Okay.
audio.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much. We will be sure to have that free gift in the show notes. So head on over to the website. And thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Oh, it was really, really wonderful. Thank you so much. So many good feelings throughout my body and talking to the both of you. Really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you, Elana.
All right. Our show is not over, y'all. You know what to do. Stay tuned, because the dish is coming up next.
Now, our favorite part, the dish.
Another woman on the pleasure path, speaking to the masses, getting the good word out. You got it.
You can't have too many of them. I mean, it's an example. Elana is just a beautiful example of completely transforming your life with devotion to pleasure. It's really, really just such a game changer. And what I really loved about what she was speaking to is just creating something that is consistent. I think that we all sort of have intentions to do that, especially long-term partnerships. It's like, okay, yeah, we talk about that. We do it for like a month, maybe 2, and then it falls off the wagon.
We do it once or twice.
Yeah, or we do it once or twice here and there. But like to actually be like, okay, every Wednesday at 2:00 or whatever the date and time is, it's in your calendar. It's non-negotiable. It's just the thing that is happening. So I think that really is so powerful and makes such a big difference in long-term relationships.
I think the key too with anything that you want to make gains on is, I've been listening to the Atomic Habits. I was just listening to it earlier today, and there's really something powerful about habit stacking and really capitalizing on the reward for doing this thing that is important to you, but you need some help with the consistency. So like having a cue that like they have a cue, they drop their kid off at, was it soccer? No, drum lessons. And so it's on the schedule. The cue is drum lessons, and then you think about the reward after. So, one of the things that I'm trying to work with in my own is how can I habit stack in the morning so that I'm consistent? Because some things we don't feel like doing. You can't really wait to feel like sex, because if you're doing that, your partner also has to feel like sex. And the likelihood of 2 people being in the mood at the same time, when you've been together for a long time, the statistics aren't great. You have to you can't rely on.
That's why you have to go on vacation.
You can't wait to go on vacation either, because a lot of people only go on vacation once a year, So you've got to come up with I think short-term rewards and long-term rewards to get the gains that you want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully the reward of doing a weekly practice is that you feel more connected and to yourself and your partner.
Yeah.
But if you need an extra reward on top of that, then whatever reward you need, in order to get yourself to devote to that, then you should give yourself that.
Yeah, I mean, for most people, that's going to be pleasure. You're going to get relief. You're going to have a moment of respite. You're going to be able to set down some chaos and pick up some relaxation. And we all would benefit from that. So you guys, what are you doing listening to us still? Go do your practice. Whether it's a solo sure or whether it's a, what'd you call it? The sure thing? A sure thing. I actually really love that. A sure thing.
Yeah, it's a great title. It's a great name for
yeah.
it.
So do your sure thing practice and go buy the book Sure Thing.
And then tell us how your practice went.
Brilliant. Okay.
Much love. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric Sex Master Coach and Positive Psychology Facilitator Leah Piper, as well as by Chinese and Functional Medicine Doctor and Taoist Sexology Teacher Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.
Awaken Arousal Oil is my new best friend. Like Laura says, holy forking shirt balls, did it deliver on its promise. I could feel the blood flow and warmth, and that was the easiest I've ever achieved multiple orgasms. This is all natural botanical oils. It is made with CBD because CBD helps relax muscles and it eases tension. This stuff smells so good and it mixes with your pheromones like mwah, so good. Get yourself some. Link is in the show notes.